The unseen hand, my whole world collapsed around a phone screen. Not with a bang, but with a silent, sickening scroll. Messages filled with sickening affection for other men, intimate photos of my husband with a friend I'd welcomed into my home countless times, and a chilling chat history dating back to our wedding day, revealing a life I knew nothing about. The man sleeping next to me, the father of my children, was living a double life. And I, the trusting wife, was just a pawn in his elaborate heartbreaking game. This wasn't just a betrayal. It was a carefully orchestrated deception, a twisted act of love and motherhood built on a foundation of lies. Now, I had to reclaim my life and protect my children from the wreckage of a marriage that was never real. Part 1. The first crack in the perfect facade. The cool Pennsylvania air usually brought me a sense of peace, especially after a long day at the manufacturing company. But tonight, the crisp autumn breeze only felt like a premonition, a shiver running down my spine. It was supposed to be a regular evening. Brian, my husband, was out with the guys, from work, which was common enough. His phone, however, kept buzzing on the nightstand, vibrating with an urgency that felt off. I tried to ignore it, telling myself it was just work chatter or maybe a friend in need, but the insistent glow of the screen illuminating the dark room pulled at me a silent siren call I couldn't resist. He was sleeping soundly, a benign expression on his face, the picture of a tired, harmless husband. My hand trembled as I reached for his phone, the cold metal, a stark contrast to the sudden heat rising in my chest. I unlocked it, a simple password I knew by heart, and the screen burst to life, revealing a torrent of messages. My breath caught, my stomach churned. It wasn't work. It wasn't a friend. My eyes scanned frantically, disbelievingly. The words blurred, then sharpened into sickening clarity. Pet names, flirtatious emojis, dates, pictures. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. My fingers, as if possessed, scrolled further deeper into a rabbit hole of deceit. There were intimate exchanges, conversations spanning months, years even, with men, many men. And then there it was, a string of photos, horrifyingly intimate, of Brian with a friend. A man who had been to our home, eaten at our dinner table, laughed with our children. The betrayal was a physical blow, knocking the wind out of me. The air grew thin, the room spinning around me. This wasn't just a few careless texts. This was an entire hidden life, a secret world I had never even dreamed existed. How could he have looked me in the eye, kissed my cheek, planned our future, all while living such a profound lie? Part 2. The truth cold and undeniable. The room felt like an interrogation chamber, the silence broken only by the frantic pounding of my own heart. I gripped the phone, the cold metal, a physical anchor in the storm, raging inside me. My fingers flew, swiping, tapping, pulling up more and more evidence, an entire log of conversation stretching back months, even years, since before we even married, with a shocking number of different men all speaking in a language of intimacy and desire I thought was reserved only for us. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a fleeting slip. This was a deliberate, continuous deception. I looked at him, really, looked at him as he lay there sleeping, his face an innocent mask. My mind raced, trying to reconcile the man I thought I knew with the stranger on the screen, the quiet moments, the seemingly deep conversations, the way he'd always been, so understanding about my past trauma, my longing for a stable family. Was it all an act? Every word, every touch, every promise. The phone dropped from my numb fingers, clattering against the hardwood floor. The sound, sharp and sudden, ripped through the quiet house. Brian stirred, his eyes fluttering open. He blinked groggy, then his gaze fell on the phone. His eyes widened, a flicker of panic, then a swift chilling shift to something cold, resigned. What is this, Brian? My voice was barely a whisper, raw with unshed tears. He pushed himself up, rubbing his eyes, avoiding my gaze. He didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He just sighed, a weary, almost put-upon sound. You found out? Found out what? I screamed, the control I'd been clinging to shattering. Found out you've been living a double life? Found out you've been sleeping with other men? Found out our entire marriage is a lie? He finally looked at me, his eyes devoid of the warmth I thought I knew. I've always loved them, he said, his voice flat, devoid of emotion. I just tried to build a normal family the right way for my parents. But I can't keep pretending anymore. Pretending the words sliced through me colder than any blade. Our life together, our children, our vows. All of it a performance. My reality, painstakingly built on trust and hope, crumbled around me. The perfect image of our family, the one I had so desperately wanted, exploded into a million pieces, leaving behind only the bitter taste of ash. And in that moment, as the full weight of his confession crushed me, I realized the nightmare had only just begun. Part 3. The puppeteer's strings and my desperate hope. The hospital ceiling stared back at me, a sterile, uncaring white. My body felt heavy, bruised my mind, a chaotic whirlwind of shattered images and searing pain. I don't remember how I got there, only the sensation of falling into a bottomless pit of despair after Brian's cold confession. I was Emily, 32, an office worker at a manufacturing company in Pennsylvania, smart, hardworking, and with a stable career. But underneath that practical exterior was a woman desperate for true love for a family, especially after a childhood without a mother. I had poured all my hopes into Brian, into the idea of our future. Brian, he worked in logistics at the same company. Outwardly, he was gentle, charming, always knowing how to win people over. He was a master of appearances, and I, longing for genuine connection, had fallen for the illusion. We met at a company party. He pursued me gently, respectfully, never pushing, which made me feel safe. After 6 months, though, I felt a deep emotional disconnect. Something was off. Our conversations felt superficial, our intimacy lacking a true spark. I initiated the breakup. He agreed immediately without a fight. No tears, no desperate pleas. A red flag I completely missed because I was too relieved it wasn't harder. Then weeks later, the bombshell, I was pregnant. My world tilted. I was terrified, confused, but also a tiny spark of hope flickered within me. I had always yearned for motherhood, a chance to build the family I never truly had. That's when Mr. Carter Bryan's uncle and my direct manager stepped in. He was a man of immense influence within the company, respected and outwardly benevolent. He arranged for me to see a doctor, a family friend of theirs. The doctor's words, delivered with a grave expression, still echo in my memory. "Emily, if you terminate this pregnancy, given certain predispositions, you may find it extremely difficult, if not impossible, to conceive again." His voice was gentle, professional, but the message was a hammer blow to my deepest desire. Then came the parade of Brian's family pleading, almost begging, "You have to marry him, Emily, to save our grandson's reputation for the family honor." And Brian himself, suddenly remorseful, played the part of the repentant man promising to be a good husband, a good father. He spoke of wanting a family, of righting his wrongs. I was young, scared, overwhelmed, and so deeply influenced by their manipulative tactics. The doctor's warning, the family's pleas, Brian's seemingly earnest regret, it all coalesced into a suffocating pressure. I was so afraid of losing the chance to be a mother, of denying my child a father, of being alone. Against my gut feeling, in a haze of fear and emotional manipulation, I said yes. I agreed to marry him. I thought I was choosing love, choosing family, choosing to give my child a stable home. I never imagined I was walking into a carefully constructed cage. Part 4. The unmasking of a master plan. The bitter taste of betrayal lingered in my mouth, a constant reminder of the life I had been tricked into. After our first child was born, a beautiful little boy, Brian transformed. He became the most attentive husband, meticulously caring for me during my recovery, always thinking of the smallest details during my pregnancy. He was thoughtful, present, seemingly devoted. I started to believe it. Maybe, I told myself, rocking our baby to sleep, maybe I was wrong to doubt him. Maybe this is what a real family looks like. Maybe I made the right choice by staying. The quiet joy of motherhood, the profound love for my son, began to overshadow the lingering doubts, pushing them into the dark corners of my mind. Life settled into a rhythm: diapers, sleepless nights, baby giggles, family dinners. It was outwardly the picture of domestic bliss. I was content, building the family I had always dreamed of. Then I got pregnant with our second child. Another wave of morning sickness exhaustion, but this time a seasoned calm. I was a mother, experienced and strong. I embraced every discomfort, knowing the precious life growing inside me was worth it. But the facade so carefully constructed couldn't hold forever. It was a normal weeknight. Brian had gone out for drinks with colleagues, a common occurrence. His phone, usually glued to his hand, lay on the nightstand, neglected. It vibrated again and again, the insistent buzz echoing in the quiet house. My curiosity, long suppressed, finally broke through. I picked it up, and that's when my world shattered. The screen illuminated a torrent of messages, affectionate exchanges with other men, photos, intimate and undeniable, of Brian with a friend who had often been to our home, someone I'd welcomed as a platonic companion. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat of disbelief and horror. My fingers scrolled relentlessly through a meticulously kept chat log. Dates, names, intimate details. A life lived entirely in the shadows, a secret world teeming with other lovers, gay partners stretching back to the very beginning of our marriage. When he stumbled in, later reeking of alcohol, his eyes barely focusing, I shoved the phone into his hand. The words were a choked whisper, barely audible, over the roaring in my ears. "What is this, Brian? Explain this." His eyes, bleary at first, focused on the screen. The immediate spark of panic, quickly replaced by a cold, hard resignation, was sickening. He looked at me. Really? Looked at me with an expression I had never seen before, detached, almost relieved. "I've always loved them," he said, his voice flat, devoid of the warmth I thought I knew. "I just tried to build a normal family the right way for my parents. But I can't keep pretending anymore." Pretending. The word echoed, a poisoned arrow piercing my heart. Everything. Our vows, our years together, the very foundation of our family, was a sham, a performance. He had pretended to be straight, to be a loving husband, to be a man capable of a normal family, all to satisfy some unseen pressure, some hidden agenda. And I, the eager, trusting fool, had walked right into it, unknowingly becoming part of a play where I was the only one truly invested. Part 5. The Fight for My Truth and My Children. The hospital room was cold, the white walls blurring through my tears. I had collapsed, right there in our living room, the weight of Brian's confession and the horrific revelations on his phone crushing me. When I woke up, the familiar scent of antiseptic filled my nostrils. My body ached, but the pain in my heart eclipsed it all. Then the old doctor walked in, the same one who had given me the devastating news about my fertility years ago. He looked haggard, his eyes heavy with a mixture of regret and shame. He sat on the edge of my bed, his voice low, filled with a fragile guilt. "Emily," he began, I have to tell you something. I was paid by Mr. Carter to tell you that lie about your fertility, to scare you into keeping the pregnancy, into marrying Brian." The words hit me like a physical blow, each one a fresh stab to my already bleeding heart. The world spun again, not from the pain, but from the sickening clarity. The doctor's pronouncement, Brian's family's pleas, Brian's manufactured remorse. It was all a meticulously crafted trap, a master plan orchestrated by Mr. Carter to protect his nephew's reputation, to hide Brian's true identity from a judgmental family, and I had been the unwitting, expendable tool. I was just a means to an end, a convenient incubator for their perfect heteronormative facade. I felt a wave of nausea, not from pregnancy this time, but from pure disgust. They had manipulated my deepest desire, the yearning for motherhood, against me. They had stolen my choice, my autonomy, my very future. Every moment of morning sickness that sent me to the hospital, every hour of excruciating 17-hour labor, every single sleepless night I'd spent rocking a feverish child, every tear I'd shed for my children, all of it had been for their twisted game. Then a quiet strength began to simmer within me. I looked down at my pregnant belly, a hand instinctively going to protect the life growing inside me. I thought of my son, his innocent face, his bright laughter. They could deceive my love. They could manipulate my life, but no one could ever deceive the fierce, unconditional love I held for these children. My motherhood was real. Their deception was not. In that moment, the anger gave way to an unshakable resolve. I was not a pawn. I was a mother, and I would fight. I hired the best lawyer I could find. I filed for divorce, fighting for full custody of my children and our assets. The court proceedings were brutal, emotionally draining, a public airing of the deepest, most painful secrets. Brian, now stripped of his pretense, seemed small, pathetic. Mr. Carter, his carefully constructed reputation crumbling, tried to maintain control, but the truth once unleashed could not be contained. I won custody. I won the assets. The house, the one filled with so many painful memories, was sold. With my pregnancy nearing its end, I packed up my life, took my son, and moved back to my father's quiet house in rural Pennsylvania. A fresh start, a blank canvas. I was starting over bruised but unbroken with nothing but my 2 children and my unwavering determination. Years passed. Life with my children was a beautiful, messy, real adventure. I never told them the truth about Brian, about the elaborate deception. Their father, I simply explained, had moved far away for work. There was no need to burden their young hearts with such a dark and complicated past. My children would grow up knowing only love's stability and the fierce devotion of their mother. The old wounds are still there deep beneath the surface, but they no longer define me. They are scars, reminders of a battle fought and won. I am stronger, more self-reliant, more discerning than ever before. You can't control who comes into your life and deceives you, but you absolutely can decide not to let them destroy the rest of it. True maternal love is the most authentic, purest thing, even if its beginning was born from a lie. Don't let the shadows of betrayal define your story. Find strength in your truth. Subscribe to Midnight on Reddit for more untold tales of deception, resilience, and the extraordinary strength of the human spirit. Have you ever faced a betrayal that forced you to redefine what family truly means? Share your story in the comments below.